From the Frederick Keys to the Flying Cows, from college courts to Friday night lights, and from the big leagues of local sports to the little leagues where it all begins. This is Frederick Sports, hosted by longtime broadcaster and sports executive John Hunt, bringing over 40 years of play-by-play, insight, and local sports experience to the mic. Frederick Sports starts now.
Welcome to the Everything Frederick Live Network in Studio 401. My name is John Hunt. Nick is working the board behind the scenes. Thank you to him for everything he's about to do and everything he's learning. So welcome to the team here at Everything Frederick Live. We have new sponsors we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show. And a lot happened in sports over the weekend. And then, of course, don't forget, tomorrow I'll have Gus Balow from the Frederick Keys joining me on Frederick Sports. You know, we always talk about what's happening with the Keys. And what's crazy is the baseball season for those guys is almost over. Only 6 more regular season games at home before the playoffs. We're going to talk about the Keys in a little bit as well. But I'm going to kick off the show today with something that I'm a little bit shocked that I read. And I, confirmed it with ESPN and a couple of their announcers, and now the college football announcers are all shaking their heads saying this can't happen. But the Cleveland Browns are waiving tight end Daquan Wright. All right. Now, that's not unusual. Okay. Guys get, this is the time of year where guys get cut. They don't make the team or whatever. And if he clears waivers and no other team picks him up, he has an agreement for the 2026 season to play for LSU. Wait a minute. Really? I thought once you declared you were a pro, you lose your eligibility. And didn't he get paid for being in training camp? Also, getting paid to play professional football, why would he be allowed to go back and play college football? This is one of the craziest things going on in sports today. The whole NIL thing and guys getting paid to play college ball. And all sports, it's not just football. They're getting paid to play baseball and basketball. And guys are going through the transfer portal like 4, 5, 6 times. Now they're trying to bring rules into place that'll make it so you can only be in the transfer portal twice. That's twice too many, to be honest. If you sign with a college and you decide that's where you're going to go, unless you have some kind of financial or family hardship where, let's say you live in Maryland, you get recruited to USC and you're in California and your mom gets sick, heaven forbid, something like that happens, and you want to move closer to home to be with your mom. Okay, I get that. That's a good enough reason to transfer home. But guys getting paid millions of dollars to play college football and basketball, especially, and other sports. But these, again, I understand athletes maybe should get paid for something. And my answer is a little different, and I'll go through that in a minute. But this is crazy. He will be the first player who could play for an NFL team and then go back to college. Tell me there's not something wrong with this system. I mean, this is freaking crazy. I got to watch my language because I'm getting on a soapbox about this one. It's crazy that a guy could make it onto a squad, get paid by an NFL team, get drafted, go through the draft and get drafted. Even that should be enough. Once you're drafted, you should be done. And so now he's got a whole training camp full of experience with an NFL team. Now, it's the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if that counts all the time as an NFL team, but you know what I'm saying. All right? So this tight end, Daquan Wright, if he clears waivers, will be playing for LSU. And the NCAA is turning their head and not doing anything about it because of all these NIL rules. And again, if you haven't watched college sports in a while, NIL is where guys get paid to use their likeness. I'm okay with a guy working, maybe doing public events and getting paid a fair wage. Not, go visit the car dealer, sign some autographs and get $1 million. That's not right. If you want to pay them $20 an hour for some side cash, because think about it, they're getting their education. The athletes are getting their education. They're getting all the food they can eat, especially football players. They're eating steak and eggs for breakfast and, prime rib for dinner every day so they can bulk up. So that's happening. And then their room and board is paid for. Their transportation, they're zipping around campus and, that's not even counting the boosters clubs who are giving these guys cars and all this other stuff under the table. But to be able to get drafted by an NFL team, go through training camp to the last week of training camp, and then get cut after making money, which now you're a professional, right? Isn't that what the word professional means? You're making money at the sport. And then you get to go back and play at a major SEC school. LSU. That's Lane Kiffin for you. I'm telling you, that's crazy. That is absolutely wrong. And they're not student athletes there anymore. They're paid athletes. Stop calling them student athletes if they're not going to class, because that's part of the deal too. These guys, if you ever saw the movie, not the TV show, Friday Night Lights, they asked Boobie Miles, what are your grades? He said, I get A's. I get all A's all the time. I get A's. And they're like, well, what classes are you taking? It doesn't matter. He's like, I get A's in football. And that's what it is at the college level, major, in the Big Ten and the SEC, the Big 12, the Atlantic Coast Conference. I mean, those leagues are paying it's not Division III where you don't get a scholarship or, you can get an academic scholarship. And those guys are certainly not getting paid at that level to play ball. But this one just got me. And as soon as I read it, I'm like, this can't be right. And so I checked the source. Numerous places are reporting the same story. So again, I understand guys having the chance to get injured. Now you have guys, by the way, there have been guys, thanks to COVID time, that have played 6, 7, 8 years. You add COVID to injuries, and these guys are getting paid. And they go through the transfer portal. There was an interview with Mike Loxley at the University of Maryland, the head coach there. And he was asked if he was worried about his guys going to visit other schools for the chance to go through the portal and transfer to one of those schools. And he says, I understand why the guys do it. They get paid $10,000 for the visit. Wait a minute. What? $10,000 to go visit a school to maybe go to that school and be in the transfer portal. And you don't think, I'm sure other things are going on other than that $10,000. Special ladies coming to the dorms, showing off for the guys, walk them through the hottest part of school. And I don't mean temperature wise, so they can see the ladies on the campus. That's what happens. That's what happens when they're recruiting, high school juniors and seniors, and they bring them to school. But now you have guys in college with everything taken care of, and they're getting paid $10,000 for a visit to potentially transfer to another school. Loxley said, I would do it too if I was an athlete. And then I would come back to the school I, agreed to. But if they're going to give me the money, I'm going to take it. College sports. I think it's awesome. I love watching college. I love watching college football. There's no question that I do, but this drives me crazy. And there are some schools that I have a problem watching because they're the worst at it. LSU being one of those schools, Ohio State being one of those schools, University of Florida, Florida State, they're right near the top of that list. Oklahoma was on that list for a long time. Texas Tech. All those schools are doing that garbage. Not that other schools aren't, but not at the level that those guys are. And then they get coaches that get popped. And so what do? They go to fine, I'll go to the NFL for a couple years. Make big NFL money, and then they'll come back and coach another college team and make $7 million. It's not like they get the death sentence of coaching sports when they're found guilty of major crimes when it comes to, paying these kids on the side and all that other stuff. So let me get off my soapbox and get to the rest of sports. But that's the thing that got me this morning. I thought, absolutely crazy that the guy can go to the NFL, get cut, and then go back to college and get paid in college. All right, I want to thank some brand new sponsors. The Pickle Park over at 355 Ballinger Center Drive is a new sponsor here in Studio 401 of the Everything Frederick Live Network. Pozopol Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical Services. We're happy to have those guys on. Literally signed minutes before I started John's house this morning, which was very cool to see that. A good way to start my Monday. Peak Performance Center, and that is a major league gym. 355 Ballinger Center Drive, right next to the Pickle Park. So thanks to both of those guys. Rosati's Pizza, delicious pizza, Chicago style over on 7th Street. Hot Fired Arts across the parking lot from Rosati's on 7th Street. And Donald for Delegate. Jerry Donald running for delegate in the 4th District here in the state of Maryland. Thanks to all of those sponsors for being on board with the Everything Frederick Live Network and, of course, right here at Frederick Sports. All right, let's see here. We're going to get back to some baseball. Let me take a quick break. And like I said, we'll get you caught up on all the baseball races and what's going on with the Keys. It's coming up. My name is John Hunt, and this is Frederick Sports.
Hi, I'm Jerry Donald, Frederick County Council member, and I'm running for the Maryland House of Delegates. As a council member, I wrote the impact fee law to help build new schools and libraries, the riparian buffer law to make our streams and rivers cleaner. I sponsored a bill to allow farmers to sell directly to the public at farm stands, and I wrote the law that created the Frederick County Board of Health. I voted against the increases to your income and property taxes, and I voted against the expansion of the data center overlay. As a delegate, my focus is to bring your tax dollars back to Frederick County for roads, schools, and libraries. Paid for by Citizens for Jerry Donald, Cam Rayner, Treasurer.
Frederick, if you're craving real Chicago-style flavor, Rosati's is bringing it. From their cheesy, loaded deep dish pizza to crispy tavern-style thin crust, every bite is packed with that classic Rosati's taste. And don't sleep on the steak and cheese sub. Hot, hearty, and seriously satisfying. Rosati's has been serving family recipes since 1964, and now you can get it right here in Frederick. Stop by 911 West 7th Street or order online at rosatispizza.com. Rosati's, keeping it real since 1964.
Hot Fired Arts is Frederick's handmade, locally owned art studio where creativity meets community. Since 2016, they've offered hands-on art experiences for all ages, from pottery and fused glass to wet clay and canvas painting. Whether you're looking for a fun family outing, a date night, or a creative outlet, they make art accessible and enjoyable for all skill levels. Stop by and see them today in the Fairview Shopping Center on 7th Street, Frederick, or visit them online at hotfiredarts.com.
All right, yeah, I'm cooling down a little bit after that. It's not a tirade. I don't know how many people have actually seen me on a tirade. It doesn't happen very much. I'm usually pretty chill. But that whole thing about college guys going to the pros and then being able to come back and play, that's insane. Anyways, all right, let's start some baseball right here in town. Frederick beat Wilmington 7-2 last night. 5 runs, a 5-run seventh for the Keys. Starter Boston Bateman had 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, and no runs allowed. 3 hits for Andy Azokar, and the Keys got that victory. They'll be at home against Asheville starting tomorrow, the final 6 games of the 2026 home regular season. Again, playoff tickets are now on sale, but these are the last regular season games, and I highly recommend. It looks like the weather's going to be great, at least for the beginning of the series. The first couple days, no temperatures above 80 degrees until past Thursday, and no rain in the forecast until Thursday or Friday. So I'm highly recommending getting out early and seeing the Keys, because this could be the last time you see some of these guys playing in Frederick, because, it's A-ball. single A. They're going to move up to double A, triple A, maybe to the majors spring training next year. The Orioles may be making changes if they don't make the playoffs. And that's something we're going to talk about in a little bit. But, these Frederick Keys, this might be something you don't get to see for a while. It's not every year that your team makes the playoffs, unless you buy it like the Yankees. And even they don't make the playoffs every year. So I think it's important. Community, get out there, bring the kids out one more time to check out the Frederick Keys at home against Asheville. Again, the final 6 home games are on the schedule. Tomorrow, it's Friends and Family 4-pack, 4 tickets for $44. Wednesday, it's WAG Wednesday and Guaranteed Win Wednesday. Thursday is something different. It's Sensory Friendly Night. So if you have a child on the spectrum or somebody that doesn't like the big lights and sounds, maybe it scares them for the loud noises, it is Sensory Friendly Night. They'll have an area that will be safe for the kids or adults for that matter. Friday and Saturday, fireworks and country night. Also Friday, it's a cowboy hat giveaway. Yeehaw. That's right. You're going to get your Keys cowboy hat. That sounds like a fun time. And then Saturday night is wrestling night. Meet JBL John Bradshaw Layfield, or Layfield Better is his last name. It's one big, long last name. JBL, you can do a meet and greet. And on Saturday could be a long, fun day at the ballpark. Starts at 3 o'clock with the Guns and Hoses game. No, I didn't say, never mind. You know what I meant. Guns and Hoses, kind of like the band. But this is Police Against Fire Department. Guns and Hoses game at 3 o'clock. And then it's going to roll into the JBL meet and greet. And then the Keys game. And then fireworks. That's all in one day. It'll be a fun day at the ballpark on Saturday. And again, it all starts at 3 o'clock with the Guns and Hoses game. And then Sunday is Sunday Fun Day and a mystery last game of the season giveaway. And those are fun because you never know, like Forrest Gump said, what you going to get. It's something cool from the season. Could be signed baseballs. It could be bobbleheads. It could be posters. It could be any number of things. Mystery giveaway day. And they'll probably be doing some stuff with the fans in the stands during the game as well on mystery giveaway day. So Sunday would be a good way to see the team off. They will play one more series on the road in Brooklyn before they go to the playoffs. But these will be the last games at home for your Keys. Then the playoffs start on September 8th. September 8th is one game on the road. They don't know yet who they're going to play in the first round of the playoffs. And then September 9th and 10th, the 10th if necessary. It's a best of 3 series are at home. Get your tickets now before they're gone or before you have to sit, way in the outfield. There's not a bad seat now the way they've restructured the stadium. But, if you want to sit up close and be this is going to be rowdy. Frederick hasn't seen a playoff team of, in baseball in a very, very long time. I think the Flying Cows made the playoffs last year in basketball, but the Frederick Keys had not in a little while. And this is also the first team in the ownership group to make the playoffs. So this is kind of cool for them as well. So again, get out, see some Keys ball, get your tickets online. Let's see. Richmond beat Chesapeake 6-5. Final 6 at home are from September 1st through the 7th versus Portland at PG Stadium. It's getting tough. I was hoping, and there was a chance for the Chesapeake Bay Sox to make a playoff spot. They had gotten it down to 2.5 games behind Erie. However, not going well the last couple of weeks, and they are now 7 games behind Erie. Only 6 games at home, 12 games on the road. So it's going to be tough. Not impossible. They are not eliminated. But right now, it's an uphill climb for the Chesapeake Bay Sox to make the Double-A playoffs in the Orioles organization. How about Aberdeen? They are the draft league team that used to be here in Frederick. They won both Friday and Saturday. They did lose on Sunday. The Crosscutters knocked them off 12-3. But Aberdeen is 23-16 in the second half. And with 8 games remaining at Ripken Stadium, They are home tonight and tomorrow versus Williamsport. It's only a few games left in their season, and they are in first place for the second half. So Aberdeen could make the playoffs in the draft league. That would be pretty fun to see as well. The Aberdeen Ironbirds, who was, have both the team that was in Frederick and the Frederick Keys, both making the playoffs would be a lot of fun for all the fans around this region. And then in the major leagues, first off, I had hope for the Nationals. Nobody expected the Nationals about 3 weeks ago to be one game out of a playoff spot, but it was only 3 weeks ago. They're 2-8 in the last 10. They lost to the Marlins last night, 6-2. They are now 10.5 games out of the last wild card spot. They are closer to last in the National League than they are to a wild card spot. The Mets are almost caught up to them, which is kind of sad this year. The Mets are only a game and a half behind the Nationals, and then you only have the Colorado Rockies behind them. So I don't know if the Nationals are, doing what the Wizards did for so many years and tanking for a higher draft pick or what's going on, because they had an opportunity to make the playoffs 3 weeks ago. It's pretty much gone. It would take everyone around them collapsing, which is kind of what happens in the American League for the Orioles. They won 2 out of 3 against Tampa Bay, however, lost 3-1 yesterday. They are now 2 games out in the American League wildcard spot. Now, here's what's crazy. Tampa, it's who they beat yesterday. Tampa is in first place. They have the best record in the American League, and the Orioles won 3 out of 4 in the previous series, then lost 3 in a row to the Yankees, and then won 2 out of 3 again against the Rays, who are still in first place in the American League East. So they're not having any problem beating the Rays on a regular basis, but they got to find ways to beat the Yankees and the Red Sox and Texas, those teams that are in front of them in the chase for the playoffs. That is going to be tough. 2 games out of the American League wild card. The Orioles are off tonight. They'll have 3 games in St. Louis starting tomorrow. And then think about this. For the Orioles, the next 2 series are against the Athletics, who are still trying to figure out when they get to move to Las Vegas, and Colorado, 2 of the worst teams in baseball. So the Orioles right now have the opportunity to do some damage and to get that last playoff spot and then start to lock it down as we get toward the end of the season. So let's go O's, right? They got to make something happen. And again, the schedule in front of them is perfect. Now they have this thing about playing down to the level of their teams that they're playing against. Let's hope that's not the case and they get focused and get it done. Almost forgot to mention Hagerstown beat Southern Maryland yesterday 5-2. They are in the playoffs as they won the first half title, and they are 58-50, 8 games over 500 in the entire season. But they have lost 5 of the last 6, and they got to figure out a way to turn on the switch for the rest of the season to get hot before the playoffs, because I got to tell you what, York is probably going to win the wild card spot, and York is smoking hot. That's probably who Hagerstown would get in the first round of the playoffs. And York is playing great ball right now. They won, I think, 2 of the last 3 championships as well in the Atlantic League. All right, some other side notes that we had mentioned over the weekend. The Lions beat the Commanders 17-13. Not that that really matters. Game 2 of the exhibition season. And the third-string quarterback, I'm going to have to learn how to say his name because he might make the team. Kalikanakis had a great game. And right now, in all of the NFL, the Washington Commanders' third-string quarterback has the best quarterback rating of all quarterbacks playing in the exhibition season so far, the starters and non-starters. That is pretty awesome. So let's hope he makes the teams. He was a starter at Rutgers for the last couple of years. Not a big quarterback producing school, but he's doing the job so far for the Commanders. Let's hope they find a way to keep him on the team. And the Ravens beat the Vikings 13-3. Washington and the Ravens will play at 6 o'clock on Friday, the last exhibition game before we get to regular season football. All right, the Mystics. How about the Mystics? The Washington Mystics beat Portland 105-100. They clinched the last playoff spot. So they are in the WNBA playoffs. The Mystics were down by 14 points Shakir Austin lit it up with 31 points and 10 boards last night. They are 8-3 in the last 11 games. They have 7 games left, 5 on the road and 2 at home. They are only 3.5 games out of second place and 2 games out of fourth place, which would help them when they get to the playoffs to maybe get a home series as well. So only the last 2 games of the season are games at home. And the only losses, by the way, in the last 11 games have come to the first and second place teams in the entire WNBA, Las Vegas and Minnesota. 2 losses to Las Vegas, 1 against Minnesota. And again, those are the 2 best teams in the WNBA. Take those out, and they're 8-0 in the last 8. Not bad for the Mystics. So, and Kyle Kirkwood won the inaugural Freedom 250 IndyCar race in D.C. So for all the talk about why we should or shouldn't have had it, 250th anniversary, good idea. Did we waste money? Blah, blah, blah. I think it was a lot of fun for the people that went down there and enjoyed themselves. It was supposed to rain all day Saturday, didn't. So everybody who went down on Saturday had a great time. Jeff Gordon, he's 55 years old, the Rainbow Warrior from NASCAR. He won the 2 IROC races. I think they were driving Camaros around D.C. on Saturday, and he won the 2 IROC races in the District of Columbia yesterday, driving around the Air and Space Museum and all the other monuments down there. It looked like a lot of fun, I got to tell you. All right, that is going to wrap things up. Thanks again to Nick for working behind the board, doing a tremendous job and making me look as good as I possibly can, which takes a lot of work. Trust me, I get it. From Studio 401 and the Everything Frederick Live Network. Again, if you would like to be part of any of the shows, you want to hang out with me and sit in the chair right next to me and talk sports, or you want to be on John's house, you want to talk about your business, your restaurant, your up-and-coming idea, you want to do your own podcast, or maybe you would like to be a sponsor who thinks and should know that this is the most cost-effective way to get the message out. Thinking about this, over the Everything Frederick Live Network, all of our podcasts and breaks and fun things that we do out in the community, over 1.8 million, that's with an M, million views over the last 60 days. That in itself is a pretty good reason to jump on board with the Everything Frederick Live Network. So thank you very much. You can reach out to me directly at rockthewave13@gmail.com. Again, that's there on the screen, rockthewave13@gmail.com. Like and subscribe down below and let us know what you're thinking. We appreciate you hanging out with us every Monday through Friday on this show at 4 o'clock every Monday through Friday, and then John's house in the morning starting at 10 a.m. There you go, the Everything Frederick Live Network. And check out the other podcasts as well. There's 15 different ones. Monday is a busy day, especially around the studio. Mondays and Fridays seem to be the busiest days in the studio. But again, you can check them out anytime you want on YouTube. And again, just look up the Everything Frederick Live Network. My name is John Hunt. Remember, you are what you watch and you listen to. We have special guests in tomorrow, and you've been watching Frederick Sports.
Thanks for watching Frederick Sports with John Hunt. From the pros to the colleges, the high schools, and the youth leagues that make Frederick Sports special, we're here to tell the stories behind the games, the teams, and the people who make it all happen. Make sure to like, share, and comment, and join us again next time for more Frederick Sports.
This episode is a proud production of the Everything Frederick Live Podcast Network, your home for Frederick's best podcasts, streaming daily on YouTube.